It was nearly 4 years ago. I was in my first year of GCSEs, and I'd been in a friend group most of my time in high school. This one friend group, the nerd friend group. We all played games together and stuff. We had common interests like that, and they'd all started to change. The leader of the group basically started arguing with me a lot and fighting with me. And one day he texted me. He said that no one in the group liked me, and they all thought I was annoying. And I went on to find out that that was in fact true, and they had been pretending to like me, most of them. And so I left the group, and I had no friends in high school, bar one, but we weren't in most of our classes together. And I kind of made my life about video games. And one of the main games I became engrossed in was Rust. Rust was a huge part of my life throughout my GCSEs, and it really did help me through one of the hardest years of my life. I would get home from school and I would just go on Rust, and I would go around and I would talk to people, and I'd make friends, and I've made friends that I still talk to today in Rust all those years ago. It makes me think of a fun memory. One day I went into a game and I was pretending to be Emperor Palpatine of all people, and I was doing his voice. Yes, hello there, his old British voice, and I came across a guy hitting a tree, and his name was George, just George. That was it. I thought it was so strange because in Rust, I'm so used to seeing Pussy Destroyer 67, Bitch Slapper 99, and this guy called George hitting a tree, and I went over. Hey, hello there. Would you like to be my apprentice in the dark arts of the Force? And he said yes. I basically put on that Palpatine accent for 2 hours, and then I had to drop it obviously because I thought he was pretty cool. And I was like, oh, that was just put it on of the voice. I actually saw it like this, and we introduced ourselves, and I still talk to George to this day. And thinking back, I have more memories in the video game of Rust than I do in real life. And I haven't played Rust recently. Every time I try to play, I can never get back into it as much as I was back then. But I have so much fond memories building bases with my bro, raiding. Just I felt like when I turned on my computer, I wasn't I wasn't me. I was Lord Goldfish. I could be whoever I wanted to be, and no one would judge me for what I looked like. And I remember for the first 100 hours in the game, I didn't even know how to build guns or explosives. I didn't even know you had to raid people. I would just build a house with no windows, and all my shit would get taken, and I would always wake up like, how are they getting in there? Because I didn't. I've tried to jump in the window holes, but I just couldn't figure it out. Um, but then one day I was out hitting a tree, and I was coming back, and I seen a player, and I kind of sat in a bush, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna see how they get in, and he just first attempt slapped right in the window, and then I went over to stop him, and he killed me, and well, the story didn't end too happy, but the first 100 hours of that game was just me and some old friends just running around, climbing mountains, exploring, talking, building campfires, telling fun stories around them, cooking. And when it was all happening, I never thought, I wasn't thinking, this is some of the most fun memories of my time here in high school. I wasn't thinking that. And I remember going into school and hating every single moment of my last year of GCSEs. I would sleep in every class. I stopped studying. I just became a recluse and I would be just thinking about getting back home and jumping in Rust. I also had my first girlfriend on Rust. And they went as well as all Rust relationships went, you know. We built a house in the seaside, nice view. We adopted a child by trapping a Ugandan man in our trap base and telling him to speak English words that a 2-year-old child would say. The relationship lasted for 2 days. You know, felt like I was being tied down. I had to cut the anchor loose. No, but I actually think that one day I just didn't call her, and then we just never called each other again. I also came across two guys around my age, you know, and I remember they were Jewish. They were the first Jewish kids my age I'd ever talked to. And I remember we built a base together, and there was like this Russian gangster, this big mob boss, living in the local neighbor. And if you had a house in his land, you had to kind of be cool with him. You have to give him stuff. Like he would just come at your door and be like, "Hello, could you please give me crossbow and 200 stone, please?" And we didn't know he was like the Mr. T of the neighborhood. So he came to our door. Hello there, neighbor. Open the door and give us crossbow and all of your belongings, or we will raid your base. And the three of us looked at each other, and we kind of thought that this guy was just bluffing, obviously, like you do, because we didn't even have windows to look at him, so it was entirely just from audio. And we told him to fuck off and come back and see what happens when he tries to raid us. So he's like, okay, you make big mistake. Biggest mistake of your life. And he walks away. We were all laughing, you know, and we were like, this guy won't do shit. And so we hear a bunch of footsteps, and we're like, oh fuck. This is an entirely wooden base, and he comes to the wall, and we just hear like like five hatchets just hitting the wall. What had happened is that he had tallied up all of the bitches that had been underneath him in the neighborhood, and they were basically all hitting one wall in my house, and we were shitting ourselves. We had one chest and a little bit of wood, so we started frantically slapping the wall of wood, and he was laughing like fucking Gohan out there, and he was like, "It is pointless to resist the raid," and obviously, he broke in, and I kind of like hid behind the building cupboard and attempted to murder him, but it didn't work, and he destroyed our base. And basically, I never talked to those two Jewish kids again.
Had to know, maybe if I skim the stone,
But we shared
walk a
a really
different
close
world
friendship for a
back
week,
home.
and
It
I
would
almost
all make
completely forgot about it until one
sound.
day I was in Russ, and it just came back to me, and I was like, fuck.
Ocean
And I
might
realized that I had so much really close human moments with people that I had never seen in real life, and
if I
I
fell
I
in
I,
love,
I
if I
realized
was
how
sinking,
special it was and how crazy it was that through
would
this
it
computer
all make
I had talked to people all over the world in the
sense?
span of a few years, and it was all because of Rust that I had met so much people and I've made so much memories with these people. But I can't tell anyone about these memories because I'm in my last year of high school. It's my last year now before it's over, And if I just go up to someone, I'm like, oh, here's a really fun story, and I tell them about it, and like, oh, when did that happen? I was like, oh, it was in a video game. People instantly think of it as less special, but it was still very human. And yeah, my years in GCSE, I have more memories in video games than I do in real life, and which obviously wasn't a good thing, but I was in a really bad place, and because of Rust and these people that I hadn't even seen in real life, it helped me through that year. A decision came to me. I'd finished my GCSEs and I could have stayed in the current high school I was in for 2 more years and finish up high school there, but I couldn't keep going the way I was going for another 2 years. I had realized that I had spent more time in video games than in real life, and I realized it wasn't good for my health because I had now developed really horrible anxiety when I had been in rooms with lots of people in real life, which I'd always sort of had, but during that year it became much worse. And thankfully, I left that high school and I went to another school a little bit further away, and I've been so much more happy. I've gotten much closer with my friends. I've made incredible memories in real life as well. And I'd like to thank the
We
developers
will
of
all
Rust
make
for making that game. Thank you.
'Cause I've been feeling pretty small. Sometimes feel like I'm slipping down your words, and every line, oh, I ever getting home seems to